Absolutely.
Here we go. And let's go to Ed. Ed, you're on with Mayor David Uran. Do it.
Hi, Mayor Uran. This is Ed Bomelli. I've got a question, and I think you could help me with it. I understand, and I give you credit for trying to stimulate some kind of revenue to be able to take care of your city or your town. That legislation that you were talking about, I think it was Senate Bill 67, I think that passed, where the cities and towns were going to get this. My question is, I think you got to use 75% of that the state is giving back to you just for roads, correct?
Yes, the matching grant has to go to absolutely for roads themselves, up to 75% as well.
Right, but probably what people don't understand, and I give you credit for, like you said, to try to stimulate more money for the roads, is that this is a one-shot deal, correct? I mean, this doesn't come back every year.
Correct. You got to be in line. You have to have your application in by June 30th to have your application reviewed to make sure you hit all the check marks. And then we can pledge our local money with the state money and make the local money stronger. And that's the one chance. We have one bite at the apple for this. And again, it's something that we just came up with. It just came out of legislation to give the locals the chance. And Ed, I think you've read the Senate bill as well, that we're limited with time with this.
Exactly, and that's, I mean, like you said, and everybody touches on this, but people don't realize with the tax, the circuit breaker tax, you know, you have to come up with different ideas because we all agree, I think it's a good thing to tax, but you're caught in the middle of doing less with the amount of money that you can get into the city or town.
Ed, you're absolutely correct. And again, you know, the state took this thing to almost the end, but it fell just short in what they wanted to do. And I don't know if it's because it's, let's be obvious. It's an election year down there for the state of Indiana for the representatives and things of that nature. And some of them do the right thing. Some of them play politics with state legislation. And now they're given the ability for locals to do this, but we're the ones going to take the heat because we have to look at all the avenues, and we'll be the ones blamed for putting in a tax. But I stand here today thinking that unless we have an alternative or we get additional money coming back from the state, you know, this right now is what is going to be the best interest for the city of Crown Point, for the people who live in Crown Point, for their roads.
All right. Hey,
Good
Eddie.
for you. That's great. Thank you.
All right, Eddie. Thanks a lot. Talk to you. Let's go to Carl from Hessville. Hey, Carl, go.
Morning. I'll try and be quick about this. While I'm not a Crown Point resident, my concerns are more for a broader audience, those folks on fixed incomes. I look at my mother's case. She's a widow. She's fighting cancer. She's in her 70s. And everybody wants to have their reasonable dip into her wallet, but she's only got so much to give. And, you know, I really don't care how jacked up the funding mechanism is from Indianapolis. That needs to get fixed. And if one voice of mayors and one voice of county persons and one voice of representatives hear this, then maybe they'll start divvying it up where money stays where it needs to stay rather than floating to other states and going to Indianapolis. But, you know, there's only so much disposable income people have to give, and then the whole thing kind of falls in on itself.
Carl, I don't disagree with that. There's been a lot of discussion. The entire system itself needs to be looked at. You know, is it user based on the roadways versus just per vehicle? Right now, the way the statute reads, it's per vehicle, but maybe it needs to be looked at. And we've had discussions with this with some of the legislators downstate that, you know, I mean, every time you get your emissions tested, they take your mileage and things of that nature. So if you're one that goes out and uses the car all the time and puts a lot of miles in your vehicle and you're on the road, you're the one that's probably doing a lot more wear and tear than somebody who's out there maybe running to just get their prescriptions. And maybe that's a formula you look at. So it's a fair taxation based on use. Again, they're for vehicles. You know, for people who don't have cars, they don't get taxed. But people who do have cars and have limited use of their cars, maybe that's a philosophy that the state needs to look at, because when you go to your registration and you record your mileage, maybe that's how you get taxed going forward. So it becomes fair and equitable for somebody who's just on a fixed income, who does have a vehicle for just necessary for emergencies and doesn't necessarily have it for the same share as everybody else. That's a thought process that maybe needs to be looked at as well.
How do you feel about the Crown Point coming together as an outsider there, Carl, and saying, hey, we want to raise this money within our own city?
You can beat your own people up as much as you want. Again, you know, in case you haven't heard, there's been a big recession on, and, you know, folks don't have as much money as they used to. And, you know, you can squeeze it until it's dry, and after that, it's done. And no matter how you slice it, dice it, or justify it, I'm pretty sure some folks could go through the books and find ways to save money. But hey,
All right.
I'm just one guy.
Thanks a lot. Wanted your opinion. I appreciate it. Let's go to John from Cherville. John, you are on with Crown Point Mayor David Uran. What's going on? Hey, John?
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, turn that radio down in the background, too, will you?
Got it.
You got it.
So, I mean, to me, let's see, I pay a sales tax, I pay income tax. It seems like tax is the answer. I'm personally, I brought property up in Michigan. I'm happy to move out, and I'm going to take a Michigan residence. I'm sick of exactly what the mayor wants to do. Tax. We need to find alternative solutions other than tax, and it takes a toll on people. People are fed up with it. And I find that most politicians, they think that's the answer because they have great benefits, and most politicians are in Northwest Indiana are taking money from someone else and having kickbacks.
You're going a little too far there, John, but thank you. You heard from Carl, you heard from John, you heard from Dave from Crown Point. This is not an abnormal way of thinking here in Lake County where people feel as if they're overtaxed.
I mean, you got to look at this whole thing for perspective too. Maybe the walls in Lake County are a little higher and different because 2/3 of the state already have this in place. So this is not uncommon to think about having a wheel tax on a vehicle. So if you think, okay, well, Lake County is not the place to be, and I'll move out of the county and go somewhere else, you might be moving right into a place that already has this in place, and you're going to get what you want already. So, again, I'm not sure, the state, when they put these mandates of the 1, 2, and 3 tax caps, that was voted on by the Hoosiers of the state of Indiana and put in the Constitution. So it's law now. It's going to take an act of God to get it out or get changed. These are the tools that are a part of the process. The local option was part of it. You can see what the state did and held Lake County hostage until basically they passed the local option income tax. That was part of the equation that the Hoosiers voted for to make go through. And the other tools are now being given to the local municipalities based on that Constitution movement voted in by the Hoosiers. So, I mean, again, we would not be doing our jobs if we didn't look at all the avenues. Again, this is a proposal. This is an opportunity to take local money, keep 100% of your money home, not share it with anybody else, and put it for your benefit into your own infrastructure. And we're asking people the input. So every call we get, every social media, every email we get has valid information to the decision we need to make on this. And again, the council has to validate or affirm this.
All right, we're talking to David Uran. Verley Suggs is with me, and we're kind of letting the callers just take their shots at the mayor. So you know what? Do you feel like you're doing a sectional game, and the folks in the stands are giving you the business?
Sometimes you got to go on the road and get things done and win. So I mean, but again, if we can continue, and here, if we're not successful in the wheel tax in Crown Point, it opens the door for discussion with our legislators that collectively we need to look at the system altogether. First of all, you're going to we're going to elect a new president coming up here shortly this year, and it starts from the top there as well. Because again, Indiana being a donor state, I don't think people realize that the gas tax that you pay, a percentage of that money leaves our state to go helps other states with their roads. And the other parts of the gas tax doesn't necessarily all come back to your own home city or town that you live in. It gets based on population. It gets based on per capita. So the wheel tax gives you one chance to look at it to keep money home.
What we're talking about here, I'm going to try to get these other guys in here. We're talking about is that Crown Point Mayor Dave Uran on the front page of the Times. You read it here. Mayor Snyder out of Portage. Also talking here a week and a half ago about getting a wheel tax in his city, and that is it's become a little bit controversial. It's another tax, and Mayor's here telling the story. And let's go to Mad Mac on line 4. Mad Mac, you're on with the Mayor of Crown Point.
Hey, Mayor, I'll give you credit for running a great town down there. It seems to run very efficient. You got good schools, and you got a nice place that's really incredibly safe. I do some work down there, so I'll give you credit for that.
Thanks.
But you've twice in this conversation alluded to the fact that that's something we need to look at. Before you go and put another asinine tax, which is going to be wasted, because that's what Lake County government is simply made to do, is waste our money, just like the 1.5. You need to fix your system first, that not you personally, but you as a politician, you are involved in that system. And our money takes a dollar bill, burns it, and ends up with 20 cents that actually might do something. The other 80% goes poof. You guys need to figure out what kind of mess you got going, because when it was reported this week on WJOB that the county has a budget of about $9 million per year for roads, but about 6 of it goes to employees, that's insanity.
Okay, you got a lot in there. You got a lot in there. First, I'm going to take two things. You got two major things. Thank you. All right. He's talking about the state funding system where you send 80, you're getting 20 cents on the dollars back for your roads that goes to the state. Can you even change that system?
Again, it starts at the top. I mean, you look at the state of Indiana. It starts with the governor. It starts with the people we elect for the state legislators. They had a mission to go in there this year. What they told us was to go in there and fix the formulas for the road funding. We got a little bit of our own money back and a little bit of home rule. That's all we got out of it.
So home rule is, if you guys are following this, Crown Point gets, if Indeed puts a wheel tax on, then can actually leverage that to apply for more funds from the state of Indiana. So if you take 1.5 out of Crown Point, you can leverage that and apply to the state of Indiana, correct?
Absolutely. And again, I guess my point would be if you have a wheel tax or don't have a wheel tax in consideration, if, say, let's Crown Point successful in having this pass, and we're able to go ahead and match that money, we're actually taking matching money from other tax-paying people in the state of Indiana and bringing it to Crown Point. So you're leaving money on the table out of your own community if you're not taking advantage of that as well.
Which was Snyder's point when he called in here last week, and I was a little surprised that he's doing what you're doing, which is he's coming on WJOB, you're coming on WJOB. It's it's going to be a hornet's nest.
I know. So I'm protecting our own investment to try to bring our money back home, because if we don't pass this, or if it goes unsuccessful, and that may be the case, the council may say, listen, this might not be the right time or right place, and we leave money down off the table. The money that you've paid into the state of Indiana will go to other communities.
Let's take one last one. We'll take Ken Davidson. Ken, thanks for calling. What's up?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
I'm glad you spoke of investment, because I am looking at, all the local politicians keep saying we don't have enough money, there's not enough money. And one of the things that Lake County spends more than most other counties on, we have more TIFs than any other county in the state. We spend about $50 million with very little oversight. This money runs through the Redevelopment Commission. The council generally rubber stamps it. I think there's a lot of money there that we could take out and use for roads and things like that.
Okay, hold on a second. You did the same thing Mad Mac did. You're talking about the county, which we could certainly talk about. We can get people in to talk about. But we're talking about Crown Point right now. The county and Crown Point are two different things.
$50 million includes all the cities and the county. And Crown Point in particular spends a lot of money on TIFs per capita. I don't have that exact number in front of me.
We're about 1.8 million we collect on TIF each year.
Okay.
That comes back to the city of Crown Point. If we didn't collect that money, that it would go based on the population of all the taxing agencies, and we would get about 20% of that money.
Well, that's property tax money. You're saying it would go.
It's from commercial development, correct? It's not from household residents. It's from commercial development.
Let's make it clear: the taxing agencies would be the schools,
correct?
Right?
Correct.
Who else?
The county, your libraries, your townships, and the city.
Okay, so you take it out, and then you build sports complexes, or give it to Hawk Development, or someone like that.
That's not the case. No.
Correct.
We do use it for sports complex, but we also had a matching grant from the Dean and Barbara White Foundation. So it's commercial development, and you reinvest in the tourism area, that then those people come in and utilize those facilities and support the commerce that has the businesses, that creates the jobs in those corridors, that also then pay back into that fund, and it grows from there.
All right, hold on a second. Ken, where are you going with this? I know you got a point to this.
Yeah, I want to hear yeah.
We're spending about $50 million a year. A lot of that, I believe, is going to corporate welfare. And I think that a lot of that could go to, it's supposed to go to our infrastructure, which is rebuilding our roads and things like that. If you look at the TIF statute, one of the things that you're supposed to do with it is build roads and things like that to attract business.
Correct.
Same thing with the seeded fund. We could have used that for roads, but we didn't. We gave it to the train instead.
Well, not
okay. All right, so let's talk about TIFs. All right, I got your point. Crown Point isn't like Munster. It isn't like Hammond. You got a lot of land that you can still develop, but you still have a redevelopment issue. So you're kind of a little bit different than some of the other communities up here in that you have land and you also have older stuff that needs to be redeveloped.
Yeah, absolutely. And over the since we've been in office, the redevelopment commission has helped us pave roads well with that money as well. As long as it serves and benefits the TIF district. So we use that portion of the law. So if we have roads that are connected to our TIF, we repave that money with the redevelopment money. So it's not like we're all putting it towards just the development of a sports complex. We put it towards the infrastructure as well.
Is that Broadway corridor redevelopment part of that?
It is.
Yeah, that's what
We're talking to Mayor David Uran, and we go into TIFs and the theory behind it and so forth, but maybe that'll be another time. I'm a little surprised that you're coming in and taking it on directly like this, and as I was surprised that Snyder is. But what's the time frame here? What do you want to see happen here in the next couple of months? Anytime you want a new tax, you know what's going to happen. It's going to come out. I mean, it's a lot of work. What do you want to happen here?
You know, about 7 years ago, we had the major flood that came through northwest Indiana. We had the tropical storm and the hurricane that landed in northwest Indiana. I think everybody remembers that the whole region was underwater, 15 inches of rain. We had stormwater issues back in Crown Point. We enacted a stormwater utility fee, $6 per household, $12 for commercial property, because everybody contributes their water off their property somehow. So you're paying $72 a year to help manage the utilities. And we've done some great projects in the Fashion Terrace, West Street, Stillwater areas, other ancillary areas to control flooding in Crown Point. We're not done. We have other projects we have to get done. But people saw the impact that we did with that $6 per month. We're telling you right now, if this gets passed, if the community wants to step up together and have better infrastructure on the roads consistently, that money will go 100% towards roads. We're not using it for any other, this ain't bait and switch. We've been in office, going on 9 years, and everything we've said we were going to do, we've done. So this isn't 9 years later going, trust me, 8 years to pull the wool over your eyes one time so we benefit for some other capacity. This is for better infrastructures. We get petitions from residents all the time, want their subdivisions completed with roads. We get people that call all the time that says, my road needs to be, why not this year? And if we can go 4 to 5 times our amount we fund now for roads, if we tell you we'll get you within the next 4 years, we can get you within that first year. If it took 16 years before we got to your road, we can do it in 4 years. So you can see the math that's happening here. Now, I'm not guaranteeing
4 to 5 times
amount of money.
If you pass the wheel tax at the full amount, and the $25 for a residential car and $40 for a truck, then you're talking about $1.5 million, right?
1.6 of new money plus the 500 we have on the side. So you're over $2 million a year back into roads. That's 4 times the amount we currently have.
All right, so Verley, let's put this into context. Mayor Uran's sitting here telling us that he wants it in his community. Do you think there's other folks listening right now that are in leadership positions in other communities that might be doing a similar wheel tax?
Gary definitely needs it. Maryville, I mean, we have road construction taking place right now all across Maryville, and I could see us needing it as well. I think it's something that's needed statewide. It shouldn't just be each municipality needing it. We all need it.
So Mayor, you're kind of the first one here in Lake County, and you're probably take a little heat. Do you think other communities are going to follow this?
And again, probably, maybe, they're probably watching us, but if they fail to act on this before June 30th, they're leaving money on the table, and Crown Point residents are probably going to be recipients of their dollars. And so if people fall asleep at the wheel and not look on how to best leverage their investments, we are going to, you get that?
At the wheel, I got it, of course.
Okay. I wasn't trying to be funny here, but that's the case, though, that we're trying to take our investment in Crown Point and maximize it to the fullest dollar. I'll always tell people when they say their property taxes go up, I usually tell them you're welcome, because it's a tax cap. That means your house is worth more today than it was yesterday, and that means we're doing our job as a scorecard as an elected official. If your house is going the other way down and your value is leaving, we're not doing our job. So we've got to put all these on the table, having good infrastructure, good schools, low crime rates, good amenities with parks and things that you put on is the reason why people come and want to live in Crown Point.
And you, speaking of new parks, I know you're trying to acquire some property from one of the schools to have a new park right in the downtown area.
Yeah, we're currently working with our school system to put in amenities downtown, so it'll be a performing arts center. We've already got pledged money for that as well from the Dean and Barbara White Foundation. Be great gathering space. Right now, we close down our city streets for your public events, your corn roast. I know corn roast was a thing that we talked about being corn point. We have to get that because Paul Weisenhower brought that up to
started
me.
to
That
bring
he
it
said he was
here.
listening to the show and said, "You gotta get on the show." They're really beating you up about Crown Point being the corn capital of Northwest Indiana, but we do have some corn down there, and
Nice roast you have, though.
it is a corn roast. So yes, absolutely. But we shut down our city streets. We have to go ahead and put personnel out there to do that. We're looking for a venue similar to what Valparaiso has. Again, John's done a great job over there in Valparaiso. We learned from what he's did and what didn't work, what
Across
works.
the aisle.
Yeah, and look, absolutely. Again, we talk about there's no D's and R's in mayorship and stuff like that. And John's done a great idea, done some good things, and he shared those information with us. So we're gonna similarly do something that's gonna be like what Valpo has, and being done with local donations.
All right, I got to catch you on a couple things here. The Democratic primary's coming up here. Lake County's going to be huge in play on the Democratic side. Let's start at the presidential side. Hillary or Bernie?
Two good candidates. I think Bernie would be for the wheel tax. Isn't he like a social guy?
Yeah, Bernie would be for the wheel tax. Are you, you've been talking to anybody? Are you siding one way or the other or what?
We're letting this thing play out. Again, lately, on the Democratic side, between Hillary and Bernie, they've been going at each other pretty hard the last week or two, which is something they haven't done all campaign season. I mean, on the Republican sides, I think you've seen from Donald Trump, Cruz. I mean, I think Casey, as the governor of Ohio, to me on the Republican side, is bringing the best case for good, sound government. In his wore the shoes, knows what's going on, but he's not getting the traction out there because he's not flamboyant as everybody else and getting what Trump has out there. But Trump has woken up a lot of voters, and you're seeing it now, and they're engaged. They're angry. They want to see some change. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out, and especially in Indiana. I know that.
Well, it's going to play out, and they're going to come to you, and they're going to be asking. It's going to, as soon as New York's done today, that's going to flood in here. You haven't sided with one side or the other.
I have not.
Okay, let's
I'm
go
not.
to another one. Marissa McDermott's taken on George Paris for a judgeship. It's become very contentious. What do you see happening there?
I'm openly supporting Marissa on this.
Why?
Well, I think she's the most qualified candidate that's out there. I mean, you look at her credentials, and you look at the attorneys. When they associated and gave her the endorsement of somebody that's in their own class and their own peers, that says a lot. When you get the endorsement from law enforcement that you're going to be dealing with, or you could be dealing with, or that means a lot as well. I guess you look back 6 years ago when the last minute switcheroo took place. I don't think that resonates a lot of people that they had a chance to vote for a candidate and have the ability at that time to vent a candidate. That took place, and so be it. And again, I got nothing against Judge Paris. I think he's done a terrific job during his term. But I think Marissa brings something that's new, unique, and I think she'd be a terrific person for that position.
You know what? The immediate question needs to be asked. You're going for Marissa based on merit. Is that influenced by the fact that it's well known that you and Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott have a fairly close relationship?
We do, but I know the family very well, so that relationship gives me the insight of the person themselves, and know that they'll do the right thing on the bench, no matter who's in front of them. She has good character. Again, I'm not saying that Judge Paris doesn't do that. I just know Marissa better than Judge Paris, and I know her character. And she was fortunate enough to have the selection by the Democratic Party here coming May, that they would be very honored to have her serve in that position.
Do you have anything else? We have 1 minute.
No, I think we're good.
You know what? We
Appreciate you
covered a
there,
lot. That was a
Uran, for
quick
coming
hour.
on. I mean, the minute I asked, you were so willing to do this, and even at 7 a.m. in the morning. So
Yeah, that
thank
is early.
you.
I mean, 2 weeks ago when you said that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, yeah, 7 sounds great. Then 5:15 comes and you're like, I got to be in Hammond.
There you go.
I don't mind coming to Hammond though. It's a great place to come, and we have a good spirited.
It goes into Martin Sheila.
There it is.
We're gonna hear
We're
it
gonna
right
hear
now.
that?
We're gonna hear it on the way out. That's like when they start playing the music at the Academy
Yeah,
Awards. We're
time,
done.
time to walk up the stage, right? You said enough. I want to thank all my people that maybe be able to be possible here, Greg Falkowski, and
We do have the Chief of Staff, Greg Falkowski. I just want to say,
Didn't Greg do a great job?
He did a great job. He nodded, and I think he wrote 2/3. The way to go, Greg. Hey, listen, but I was a little bit surprised, and Verley's like, oh, yeah, we got Mayor Uran coming in, and I was in here yesterday, and I'm like, well, everyone's going to want to hit him on this wheel tax, and I'm a little surprised that, let me just use it as an example. A lot of times I say to politicians or to anybody in a situation when they're bringing out an idea that may cause controversy, control the narrative. And, I got to give you credit. You're here, you're controlling the narrative, you're saying, here's the story, and I'm going to tell you the story, and you're not running from it. So I'll give you credit on that.
I appreciate that. And again, we're very open, transparent at Crown Point. Our meetings are televised. I'm on social media. And again, all I ask for is if you're going to go ahead and write on social media, a lot of people read that page, and just use proper language when you're on it and have respect for everybody, because every idea has value. And we really read those things. And if somebody comes up with an idea that's better than ours, by all means, we'll take it. I mean, we don't want to tax somebody if we don't have to. We want to be able to utilize our money and pledge it so your investment is stronger tomorrow than it's today.
And the name of the page?
You just go to it's under my name, Dave Uran.
Dave Uran,
Yeah,
and
it's my own personal page. So
your own personal page, not the city page.
Right, and I get to be a little bit more open on that as well. We do have a city website, crownpoint.in.gov. There's a lot of information on there. There'll be a transportation plan that'll be posted on there as well. The city does have its own website as well, the Crown Point homepage. So there's other avenues you can do, but you can personally, you can PM me, which is a private message, or you can get on my page and tell me, especially on that topic, it's on there. I put it all on there, so all the facts are out there. So you're able to go ahead and just be respectful of people's comments. If you don't like it, be respectful and come up with your opinion. If you do like it, put it on there and we'll use it and tell us why.
All right, and as you guys well know, Mayor David Uran is also a high school basketball official, and he was the head referee on the biggest game of the year, at least the biggest regular season game of maybe a few years, and that was East Chicago versus Griffith. On his way out, we're going to hear that final call.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye before you play that final game, if you don't mind, because
okay.
I know you have Munster coming up next.
Oh, okay. I was going to come back, but Verley, as always.
Do you really want to come back? Because I don't want to.
No,
okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, I figured that might be a little longer.
Thank you for getting the mayor to come on.
Yeah, thanks for the
no
recruitment.
problem. The mayor's a great guy. I appreciate him coming. Just two quick announcements. There's a candidate forum tomorrow night at Ivy Tech.